Hi everyone. Okay, so right now we're going to talk about quantifiers. In a previous video, I talked about, we've talked about meta characters and anchors and, character classes and all those. So now we're down to quantifiers, and I think those are the last set of, the last pieces in the puzzle before we go into creating special regular expression functions. Now, when we talk about quantifiers, here's what we're looking for. We're looking for the curly brackets, these curly brackets right here, and you're looking for n or m, n. Well, let me go first into just straight m. So what the curly brackets basically mean is that you want to match a character. You want to match a character like m number of times in a function. It's usually combined with square brackets, which we covered in a previous video that showed that we can dictate the specific characters we're looking for within any kind of a string. For example, so in this case, m is a number. So for example, if we are looking for F and H, or F through H. And we wanted to look for, let's see, hold on a second, curly brackets, once, right? And we're going to go through an example of this, obviously. So what we're going to say is that we want to, in this particular string that we're referencing, we want to count or replace or extract any one of these F, G, or H characters that occur within the string. Okay, so, and we want to do it if it occurs once and once only. And in something like that, it's a very simplified version. We'll go over a little bit better example in a minute. But that's what that means. You're looking for one instance of that character that is a part of this superset of characters inside a string. Now you'll also see something along the lines of m, comma, n. So these, again, are both numbers. So you're looking for at least m, at most n inclusive number of characters that occur within this subset inside the string. So for example, if I have 1, 2, so I'm looking for a minimum of 1, a maximum of 2 inclusive. So a minimum of 1 occurrence and a maximum of 2 occurrences of these characters F, G, and H, or F through H, F, G, and H, within a string. So that's what quantifiers do. They kind of give you a little bit more control over what exactly is the pattern that you're looking for. Okay, so again, let's go over this example here. Here I have a regex match encased in an if statement, so it's conditional. So I actually wanted to do something for me, and I decided to replace the occurrences I was talking about, that I will be talking about, with a question mark, so you can see what exactly is going on. So in this case, I want to take a look at A2, and I want to match X through Z. I want to take a look at the combinations of X, Y, or Z, and I want to look at iterations of 2. So it could be X at X, Y, Y, Z, or something, or some other variation of X, Y, and Z. And it's got to be in a pair. And when I find that, I will put in a question mark. Then you can see it. And if I don't find that, I'm going to say no match, which I've always encouraged everyone, whenever you're doing any kind of functions, and it's contingent upon if something, then something, then in case of an if statement, and make it a little bit more intuitive for somebody who's looking at it and say, okay, there's no match here. There's nothing more frustrating than looking at a sheet and seeing NAs, references, and names and all this stuff in there, and no one bothered to do any kind of error checking. So please, handle your errors. Please, please, please. Thank you. That's my service announcement for the day. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going to happen here. So in this case, again, I'm looking for X through Z within this, and I want to show, whenever I find it, I'm going to show the question mark. Okay, let's go through it. Equals. Great. So what we're seeing here is that I have a combination of X, Y, and that's the only one I have. Okay, I have Y here, but it won't do that because I'm looking for I'm looking for two, exactly a combination of two occurrences of X or Y or Z, or any combination of those. And that's only one. But if I were to go ahead and do a YZ here, it would come up, because now YZ. And it also handles, let's see, XX. Actually, we go XX. That's actually a pretty good one. And you'll see here that it takes XX, but it doesn't take Z. Because, again, I left it at exactly 2. It can't be 1, it can't be 3, it has to be exactly 2. So when you're pulling this out, that's what happens. Now, if we were to go ahead, and of course, if we're doing XX, YY, ZZ, or XX, ZZ, let me just take a look. Let's go YZ. So it picks up both of them. So if you wanted to do, something larger, then you'd move on to something like the next example. In this case, we want to take a look at least 2 occurrences and at most 4 occurrences of X or Y or Z or any combination of that. Replace them with a question mark, or if they're not available, say no match. Okay, that means that we're going to pick up a few of these. So let me just show you what happens here, because in the first one you're going to see that we're going to pick up a few. Good. So in this case, it picked up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just left this one here, because it's obviously not one of the 4. And of course we do this again here, X, X, Y, Y, Z. And it only picks up that one. So if we're going to go, for example, so in this case, if we're going to go to there's no match, right? So we're just going to basically show that it doesn't go 1, it doesn't go 5, it's strictly 2 through 4 inclusive. So I hope that makes sense. So again, whenever we're doing any kind of, if we're looking for a pattern, like if you're looking for Social Security numbers, perfect example of a pattern. And of course, when you're looking for Social Security numbers, you're looking for, I think it's a 3, 2, 4, if I remember correctly. You have 3 in the first section, 2 in the second section, and 4 in the last section. So you want to make sure that that anything that anybody puts in conforms to that pattern, and if it doesn't, then it's no match or whatever it is, or maybe you have to go back and check the record for that. Phone numbers. You have the area code, exchange, and the last 4 digits. So when you have those kind of patterns that are readily there, something like this, a quantifier would come in handy, especially when you're trying to either replace or extract it, particularly when you're trying to extract it from an entire mass of data that you've gotten put in. So you can use this again, phone numbers, product IDs, employee IDs. You can even use it to filter, if you're doing coupon codes, if you're working on e-commerce, and if you want to filter URLs. So you can definitely use these quantifiers in a number of ways, and in previous examples I have shown you the different ways, but I just never quite explained it until now. All right, so this is going to be the, like I said, the last video we're going to go through before we go into creating regular expression functions and formulas. I think that would be useful to you guys, but just to recap a few things, just to go over what we have accomplished here. Okay, remember that we have the anchors. We have this anchor, which means at the beginning of a string that you want to look for something, maybe something that begins with, you know, the letters GH, right? You're looking for something. And of course, make sure that your case is correct because, as we mentioned, it is case sensitive. So you want to make sure you do that. Now, if you're looking for something at the end of the sentence or at the end of the string, you would put it at the end. You'd put the $sign at the end. Okay, then we went over meta characters. We also went over meta characters. And remember that, you know, the dot, the pipe, and the literal. So let's go over that one more time. The dot matches any single character except a new line. Then we have the logical, or in the pipe, excuse me, it's the pipe. And most, I think on most keyboards, you'd find the pipe above the backslash, so it's very convenient. And the pipe is an or, a logical or. So you're looking for example, cat or dog or rabbit. So whenever you're looking for any one of these to occur in a sentence, you separate them with an or you can separate them with an or. And of course, the literal comes in handy if you're dealing with a sentence that contains what Google Sheets would consider special characters. You basically, for example, the question mark is something that I'll go over in a minute. But as you know, question mark is a very useful character class. Actually, it's a meta character, but it's incredibly useful because, you know, I'll go over that in a second. It's 0 again, 0, 1. And if you're looking for a question mark at the end of a sentence and you want to look for that specific string, you want to let Google Sheets know, okay, I'm looking for literally the question mark, not the question mark meta character, just literally the question mark. And you can do that for the period. And the caret, if you're looking for the caret in specifically, but any of those that you want to make sure that this character, the special character, I need to look for it as a string. So the other special characters I mentioned, apart from question mark is 0 or 1. Then you have plus, which is 1 or more. Right? And then you have asterisk, which is 0 or more. This is kind of confusing, so if you have any kind of questions, go back to that video. I'll include the playlist in the description. And you can go ahead and take a look at the different meta characters again and how we distinguish between them and how we use them. Then we went over the character classes, but first, before that, I had gone over the character classes as shortcuts. And I'll include that video in there. But in the actual character classes where we talked about them being spelled out in square brackets, remember that square brackets contain, you can have alnum, which is alphanumeric, and it goes for A to Z, upper and lowercase, or 0 through 9. Right? So let me just write that out. Let's make sure. So we have A to Z, A to Z, or 0 through 9. Then we have alpha. Excuse me. And that is alphabetic, so it's just straight. Excuse me. Oops, back up. So it is straight A to Z or uppercase. And then we have finally digit. And that is 0 through 9. So again, alphanumeric, alphabet, and digital. And then we showed, in the last video on character classes, showed how to really put these notations in there, the syntax word to use, and really how the caret kind of works in a way that helps us to show not this. In this case, the caret means not. So take a look at those videos, review them as much as you can, and I'll see you in the next video where we go over some regular expressions that you can use.